Hello, I'm Richard. I run Life Squared. We're a not-for-profit organisation helping people to live well within the pressures of the modern world. This video is going to look at one of those pressures, the problem of consumerism. So, what is consumerism? It's the overarching idea in our modern society that in order to be happier, better and more successful people, we have to have more stuff. And this idea is reinforced to us across a whole range of areas of our daily lives. Every day, each of us is bombarded with around 1,600 commercial messages on the TV, on the tube, on the internet, trying to sell us stuff and telling us that our lives will be incomplete unless we buy a particular product. Even our family and friends can reinforce this idea. Chatting about someone's plans for an exotic holiday or someone else's new mobile phone can make us feel we need these things and that we're missing out if we don't have them. Or look in newspapers and magazines. A while back we took a weekday edition of the Sun newspaper and found that over 1/3 of the paper consisted of advertisements. And media like this don't just contain loads of ads, but also stories about new gadgets, clothes, property and many other things, all suggesting that having them will make life better. In short, we live in a society that promotes a consumerist lifestyle, where it's good and natural to want more stuff, and where we feel dissatisfied without it. Almost no one in the media or in politics is challenging whether this culture of consumerism is a good idea, which goes to show just how dominant the idea has become. We live in a culture where consumerism defines our idea of what a good life is. So what's the problem with that? The problem is that consumerism is harmful to our lives and to our long-term happiness. Here are some of the reasons why. Modern advertising is not just about telling people that a product exists and responding to a need that someone may already have. It's now about creating desires and needs that we might not otherwise have had before seeing the advertisement. In other words, it aims to create fake desires and needs in us by manipulating us so that we will want their product. But surely it's not right to manipulate people like this. And it's particularly exploitative of people who are vulnerable or don't have the experience or knowledge yet to think critically about this stuff, like children. Advertising is everywhere and can be annoying and an intrusion on your personal space. It's like having a stranger following you and shouting at you for several hours a day. It can also be patronising and dreadful. Just look at this nonsense from Brad Pitt and Chanel.
The world turns and we turn with it.
What on earth is he going on about? Some adverts seem to take us for fools. They think they can manipulate people with any old rubbish. But surely we don't want to be taken for a ride like this. Consumerism promotes material goods, which are important to us up to a certain point. But beyond the basics like food, shelter and a bed for the night, there are many other things that are more important to our happiness than material goods, such as friendships, love, creativity and a sense of purpose. And financial markets and consumerism can't provide these things. The real problem is that consumerism often claims that it can. And it does this by linking itself with things that actually are really important to us. Take this Doritos ad, for example, which uses the idea of friendship to sell their crisps. In reality, it's the experience of friendship that we want. The crisps are entirely irrelevant to it. Even if consumerism did meet our needs, it still wouldn't be an appropriate philosophy to base our lives and societies on, because it tries to brainwash us into thinking that it's the only way to live and be happy. But this obviously isn't true. So despite all its assertions that it gives us choice and freedom, it actually takes away the freedoms that are really important to us, including the freedom to think for ourselves and decide for ourselves about the lives we want to live. Shouldn't we be fighting to get this freedom back? We live on a planet with a growing population of 7.5 billion people and counting, and a finite set of natural resources. We're already living way beyond the planet's limits. So it seems obvious that we can't continue with ever-increasing levels of consumption without major consequences. In fact, we urgently need the exact opposite of consumerism, a philosophy that urges us to reduce our levels of consumption. So, what can we do about it? Well, there are loads of ways we can minimise the influence of consumerism on our lives and start living the lives that we really want. Here are 3 ideas. Be aware of how consumerism touches your life and when people or organisations are trying to manipulate you. Think critically about any messages you receive, whether these are social conversations, at work, in a newspaper or on television. Remove yourself from the world of consumerism completely. Just don't play the game anymore. Find other things to do with your life. Don't be around places where there are adverts, and realise that this stuff doesn't matter. It works. I can tell you from personal experience. Take time to stand back from everyday life and think about what really matters to you and how you really want to live, not what consumerism is telling you. For many of us, a life of consumerism and constantly striving to gain further material wealth is not the one we would take if we had the choice. And you know what? We do. So that's it. The basic message is don't let consumerism rule your life. Take control, think for yourself, and live the life that you really want. And if you'd like to find out more, you can download our free guide called The Problem with Consumerism, available from the Life Squared website. Thanks for watching.